Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's DAF. Bava Metzia Ayin Beis. We are holding on Ayin Beis Amud Aleph, 3 lines off the top of the Amud. Tanu Rabbanon. We have learned in Hebrew, so Yisrael Shalava Mois Min Anochri Beribis. Suppose a Yisrael borrows money from a goy with interest. So far, so good. V'zakfan alav b'milva. Okay, after a while, they sat down, they took account, they calculated how much interest is meant to be added to the total. Okay, then the total, both numbers together, the principal and the added interest. And Rashi says they drafted a new shtar, a new document stating, look, I owe you this amount, the total amount, which was the combined principal and interest. So it sort of changes the status of that interest. It now becomes like principal. This is what I owe you. Vin's Gair. At this point, the guy became a Yid. He converted. Oh, so it depends at what point did he convert. Im koidim shenis Gair zekafan olav b'milva. If they total the amount, as we said before, and turned it into a sort of a new loan, going forward, this is what you owe me. And this happened before he converted. So at this point, Rashi explains, at the point of Zakifa, once they sort of added up together and consider this to be the new total, the new amount owing, it's considered kigava. It's like it's been collected. This is what I owe you. It says, oh, you already collected the interest and you relent it to me, and I owe you this full amount. We don't reckon with the reasons why. How did I come to this amount? The fact is, it's as though I borrowed this much from you, the total amount. And we ignore the fact that it was meant, part of it was really an interest payment. And that's because this process took place before he became a Yid. Im koidim shenizgayer zekafan olav b'milva, he has a right to collect the entire amount. Goybes hakeren, goybes haribis, no problem. But if this process took place after he converted, so midrabanan, it looks like the newcomer, the ger, is lending money with interest, and he should not be collecting the interest. Goybes hakeren, he can collect the principal, the original amount, without the interest. The same in the reverse. So we have a goy borrowing from a Yid, beribis, with interest, which is fine. And once again, they sort of bundle them both together, the interest with principal, consider it sort of a new loan, a new amount owing. This is, the balance owing, v'zekafan olav b'milva. And again, it was stipulated in a shtar, okay, Vin's Gair. And now, the guy, the borrower, converted. The same story. Im achaloi nizgair zekafan olav b'milva. If they turned the total into a milva before he became a Yid, goybes hakeren, v'goybes haribis. So now the lender has a right to collect the entire amount. Im mishin is gair zekafan olav b'milva. But if this took place post-conversion, goybes hakeren, ve'enoi goybes haribis. Although minat Torah, he's allowed to collect the entire amount because the loan was issued beforehand when he was still a guy. But midrabanan, it looks like these ribas being paid from a Yisrael to a Yisrael, so you have to skip the ribas. But again, if they converted the full amount into sort of a new amount owing, zakafan al b'mulva before, right, prior to the conversion. So in that case, he'll pay him the entire amount. Rabbi Yossi Eimer, nachru shalava mois mi Yisrael b'ribis. In this most recent case, Guy borrowed from a Yid. So we said if zakafan al b'mulva, if they relabeled it, the total amount into a milva, after he converted, it's too late. We don't allow the newly converted fellow to pay the ribbis. Rabbi Yossi disagrees. Benkach, irrespective of when it happened. If they converted it, the play on words, if they relabeled it, they added the principal to the interest and sort of repackaged it as just, a flat amount owing. Doesn't matter when it happened. When it happened before or after. The Yid will collect the entire amount. Why? We'll see in a minute. Amar Rav, Amar Rav Chizda, Amar Rav Huna. Halachak Rabbi Yossi, that's how we paskin. Amar Rav, my time at Rabbi Yossi. Why? If they waited until after he converted, then he shouldn't be paying the ribbis. This is meant to avoid any impression. People shouldn't even think. You know why he converted? You know why he became a ger? To save that interest payment. He became a ger to save his money. So, in this situation where the borrower was a guy, he has to pay the ribbis regardless. Okay, back to a standard case of a shtar which contains a ribbis element, right? Tanu Rabban shtar shekasa by ribbis. So this was unfortunately a ribbis transaction between two Yisraelim. They drafted a document to that effect. I owe you $1 million plus the ribbis. We penalize the malva ve'enoi goy v'loyes akeren v'loyes ribbis. According to Rabbi Meir, forget about using the shtar. We disqualify the entire shtar. You can't use it. For anything. Some Rishonim learned that you can't use it to repossess, to seize properties that the borrower may have sold. So you don't have the potency of a you don't have the power of a shtar, but certainly you still have a monetary claim directly against the borrower. But in any case, the shtar is useless entirely. No, part of it is useless, the forbidden part, but the permissible portion relating to the principle, that's still standing. What's the machlekes about? Rameir Sava kansinan hetera ato mishum yisura. To avoid any chance of collecting the ribbis, we say skip the whole shtar. For Rabbanan Safra, no, we don't go that far. We don't penalize and attack the permissible portion on account of the forbidden part. On this topic, we have a mission. If you have a predated loan document, which is problematic because it empowers the lender to seize any property sold by the borrower starting from the date stipulated in the shtar, which is erroneous, which is early, which is pre-event. So he's not entitled to seize from that date on, right? Only from the moment of the actual loan, right? So shtar chayv hamukdamin pesulin. You can't use these documents at all. You can't even use them to collect and to seize properties that were sold starting from the actual date when the loan was actually issued. So this shtar is totally useless. But if it's post-dated, that's okay because, it's to the lender's detriment. If he's willing to accept such a shtar, fine. Now the question is, why in the first case, mukdamin? Am I psulim? Why do we say it's totally disqualified? I mean, neither loigavum is manrishin, I understand. He has no right to collect starting from the early date. Nigbum is mansheni, but at least from the time of the actual, when the loan was actually issued. Let him have the ability to use the shtar from then. You're right, it's actually machlekes. Rabbi Meir, this is Rabbi Meir speaking, who says when it's a problematic shtar, when it's misleading, you just cancel the whole thing. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, even the Rabbanon would agree in this case. It's different than ribbis. By ribbis, they said, look, you can't use it to collect ribbis, but you can use it to collect the actual loan amount. But over here, by a predated document, it's worse. It creates confusion. Who's going to know exactly when the loan was issued and at what point he can start collecting? Gzeira, there's a concern. Shem Yigbe was manrishin. He might end up, if we leave the shtar in his hands, we let him collect with the shtar, he might actually take advantage and activate it from the actual date, the erroneous date written in the shtar. However, there was a story of a fellow, the Mashkin le Pardis el-Chavrei. He borrowed $1 million from Reuven, and he gave him his vineyard as a collateral. Achlot lashne. So the lender had it for 3 years, which is considered years of chazaka. Typically, if a person does that, a person buys a field and after 3 years he's asked to produce the purchase document. He doesn't have to do that anymore. It's been so many years, I discarded it. So here we have a lender in a field, in a vineyard for 3 years running. And now he turns to blackmail. Amarle, he approaches the real owner, the borrower, and he says, look, I'd like to have your field. I'd like to buy it from you. Here comes blackmail. If you sell it to me quietly, fine, mutter. Great. If you refuse to sell it to me, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pretend that it's mine. I'll hide that document that stipulates that this is merely a collateral, it's just a mashkin, and it's really yours. I'll hide that. And I'll pretend that it's a purchase. I'll claim that I purchased the field. Okay, the other fellow was not going to be undone too quickly. Okay, not to be undone, he goes and he pulls a fast one. Ozal come, he quickly gets up, Aknail b'nei katan. The real owner gives it as a gift in front of 2 witnesses. He has Eidim. He gives it to his young son, so that if he's compelled to sell it to his good friend forcefully, he'll be able to preempt that by coming back and producing evidence that he already gave it away as a matana a day before he allegedly sells it to this blackmailer. So he gave it away as a matana on Sunday, and Monday he seemingly consents to sell it to his friend, the Shimon. And he sells it to the blackmailer. So now, Zvini, Vandilev Zvini. Now, it's pretty clear that the sale is null and void. But the question is, Zuzi, the money that he took, he was paid for the field, right? He certainly has to refund the blackmailer. But what status does this commitment have? He has to repay it. Kimilva b'shtar domu. So the fact is that this borrower, let's call him Shimon, who sold it to his lender Reuven, agreed to write a shtar, right? I'm selling it to you and I'm guaranteeing the sale. If something happens, I'll repay you, right? So of course, the sale is null and void. He gets back the field. What happened to the money that he was given? How strong is Reuven's claim? Is it like a milva b'shtar damu? Is it like a loan which was stipulated in a document? So when you borrow money and you draft a shtar to that effect, It gives you a right to collect. You can collect from properties that the other fellow may have sold after this event took place. So likewise, in our case, perhaps Reuven has that same power with respect to the money that he handed Shimon on account of this bogus sale. He can go collect from Mishubadim if Shimon can't come up with the money. Or it's like a verbal loan. Without the ability to go and seize lien properties. Because, based on what? The sale document, which was null and void, which was bogus to begin with. So what status does this shtar have? Amar Abaye v'lav haynu Rabbi Asi. Can't we compare this to Rabbi Asi? Amar Rabbi Asi, moide b'shtar shekos v'ein tzarich l'kaimei. When a loive, when a borrower concedes to the authenticity of a shtar, you don't have to go certify it in the Bezdin. This is a standard classical case, right? A lender can just take his word for it and use it to seize properties. Same thing here. The fact is, even though it's not really a sale because it was preempted by that gift which preceded it, but in terms of the money that changed hands, in terms of the money owing to Reuven, it's based on a shtar, which Shimon is fully agreeable to. Amalei Rava responds, no, how could you compare one to the other? Here it's an illegal transaction. This whole shtar is null and void. It's bogus from day one. Midami, how do you compare the two? Hasam, in a standard classical case where the loiva acknowledges its authenticity of a shtar, nitan likasev, it was meant to be written, meant to be documented. It's a fine shtar. But in our case, lo nitan likasev. This was never meant to be drafted as a document. It's worthless. Yosef Merema become a lashmaita. So Merema was sitting and saying over this rationale presented by Rava that it's not a proper shtar, and therefore the money owing is merely a milva al peh, which doesn't allow him to collect from nechasim mishubadim. So Ravina responded to him, Elohada Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Let's go back to the halacha of a shtar chayv hamuktam, a predated loan document. Rabbi Yehuda says, the reason why we perhaps don't allow, right? The Mishnah says it's possible we don't allow the malva to collect at all from nechasim mishubadim. Elohadam Rabbi Yehuda. The reason was gzeira shema yigbam is rishon, because he might come to collect from that early date, which is obviously wrong. So, why can't you just give a more simple reason? Why the shtar is deemed null and void? Name I should say, why can't he apply your rationale? You gave a good reason. When it's usher to write such a shtar, it's worthless. So why didn't Rabbi Yehuda adopt your approach and give that as a reason? Amalei, he said, how do you compare the two? Hasam over there, true. It never should have been dated, early. It never should have been predated. That's true. But the actual event took place. I mean, he lent him money. But it could have been drafted properly based on the proper date. So technically, there was nothing essentially wrong. I mean, it was inaccurate. It was misleading. But the actual event which the shtar is coming to document took place. As opposed to our story, it was a plain, simple, bogus blackmail. They never should have even come to writing a shtar about it, so it's totally a non-entity. Asks the Gemara, okay, I have another kasha. Elohad Desani, what about a bryce that we had back in DAF Yudalit? L'shvach karkois ketzat. Some claims can be collected from nechasim mishubadim, right? If they're predictable amounts, and you sort of blame the buyer. Why'd you get involved in buying this person's fields and his properties, knowing that you should have looked into, you should have realized that he has amounts owing, that he has loans outstanding. But when we're speaking about things which are unpredictable and undefined types of commitments, there, the claimant cannot come and extract and seize properties. I mean, he can collect from the actual party that owes him, but not to go and buy and go to people who purchase properties. The shvach karkois case. And one example is for improvements in the quality of the assets that he's coming to collect for. What does that mean? For instance, like this. Shimon steals Reuven's field. Turns around and sells it to Levi. Who invests. He develops it, improves on it. And one fine morning, Reuven, the victim, comes and takes his field back from Levi. So now Levi has a solid claim against Shimon, who sold him that field. It's guaranteed, right? So when he comes back to collect, he has two things he wants to get back. He wants to refund it for his sale, amount, for the purchase amount, and also all the improvements that he improves on the field. So it depends. Each one of these claims has to be dealt with separately. The actual principal amount that he can collect min chasim shabatim, because buyers should have been aware of the fact that Shimon had sold a field for X amount of money. They should have left that amount, available for any future collection. But the improvements, the investments in the field, that's unpredictable, undefined. That he can collect, but only if Shimon has any properties available. Okay, well, the question is, fundamentally, this shtar was an illegally drafted document. I mean, what's Shimon doing selling to Levi a field which never belonged to him, a stolen goods? So the whole thing is batal. I mean, what right does he have to utilize the shtar, mechira, to collect from a shubad? Why can't we apply this argument? It's leinitin likasef. Hachiyashta, once again, you can't compare. That shtar, that commitment between Shimon and Levi has some sort of basis. Although it was a stolen field, but Shimon is motivated to substantiate his trust with Levi. I mean, he wants Levi to trust him, right? So this commitment between Shimon and Levi has some basis to it. We have these reasons back in the Fidalad. There's one opinion which says that it has some sort of legal validity. Because the fact is, Shimon, after selling this field to Levi, will endeavor to approach the actual owner, Reuven, and buy it off him, so that Levi doesn't turn around and call Shimon a robber. Or according to the other opinion, Shimon would make all effort to sustain his trust with Levi. So on account of these reasons, he's motivated to try to really do good on his commitment to Levi. So it has validity. There's something to it. He'll try to appease the owner, pay him off for the field, and shore up this shtar and the sale to Levi. So it has some sort of, it carries water. It's something to it. But in our story, where the fellow blackmailed him to sell him the field, and he turned around and gave it to his son, I mean, the whole thing was a non-starter. I mean, you see that the fellow was trying to get it away from this fellow. Is there any reason to think that he'll try to be machzik the shtar, substantiate the shtar, shore up the shtar, support this so-called sale to Levi, to his blackmailer? Of course not. It has no validity, doesn't hold any water, and it's worthless. Continues the Mishnah. In Paiskin ala Peris, so here we're going to speak about investing in futures, contracting for certain commodities to be delivered throughout the season. Okay? Now today it's pretty cheap, it's pre-season. And eventually it might go up in price. Can I do that? Can I pay you for the goods now and receive its delivery later when the price goes up? Or do we say it's considered ribis? Because ultimately I'm getting more than what I paid for. Perhaps it's called ribis because it's considered like a fee that I'm charging, that you're paying me on account of the money that you were holding from me. On account of it's like borrowing money from me. Or do we say, no, it's considered a perfect purchase? So it all depends on whether this merchandise has a going rate, has an established market value. At that point we say, you can purchase it, and it's considered a purchase. And in Paisik, periods can only be Paisik, contract on produce, Achiyete Ashar, can only do that when the shar, the market rate, has been established. It's a commodity up for sale, it's given to be purchased, and therefore it's mutter. Yatsa Ashar, once the shar is out, Paiskin, you can do this. You know what? Even if you don't have any commodity in stock, yesh lazeh, your competitor has it. So when I pay you, you can take that money and buy it down the block. So it's considered within hand's reach, it's accessible, it's considered a purchasable item, and it's mine now. So even though it may increase in price, it's my goods to play with. Suppose we're not yet at the point of Yatsa Hashar. The season has not yet started, the price hasn't yet been established, but you're an early bird. You're harvesting your field before everybody else. So here, as long as you have that merchandise to sell, I can contract with you. Because I'm sort of buying those goods. Again, it's considered a proper purchase. He can do this psika, this agreement, this contract, on his pile of grain, his basket full of grapes, his store of olives, right, sitting in this pile or whatever. Basically, if he has it in a stock, you can buy it from him. This is a pot maker, a dish maker, so he has these baits and these balls of unfinished, pottery, valasid, and you can buy lime, mishashaka bekivshan. Once he inserted the ingredients into the furnace, so basically, if it's there, it's available, you can buy it. What about fertilizer, animal waste? You can do that. You can contract on that. Calling Masashana throughout the year, even though he doesn't have it in stock. And even though it doesn't have, let's say it doesn't have a set market value at this point, you can do it Calling Masashana throughout the year because it's so available. It's always accessible and therefore it's purchasable. Rabbi Yehuda, no, ain't posting on zevel. Elam kin hoisle zevel v'ashpa. Zevel is like the other things. If he has it, fine. If he has the zevel sitting in his ashpa, in his dump, whatever, then he can sell it to you. Otherwise, they say no. Even if he doesn't have it available, it's okay. Because it's accessible. Here comes an interesting point. Let's say I contract with you for wheat, but eventually it drops in value. It also happens sometimes, right? So I can stipulate with you, look, I'm expecting the best of both worlds. If it goes up, then you'll give me based on the higher value. If it goes down in price, I want you to give me based on today's rate. If today it's £5 a dollar, so even if it goes down to £3 per dollar, I want you to give me £5 per dollar. You can tell him, look, either provide for me based on the lower rate, or return my money. Okay? So basically, he invested with him, he never took delivery, and then the price dropped. You can get more for your money. So you can insist on getting more for his money, otherwise refund me my money. And The Rashi explains, what about Misha Para, right? You're not meant to back off on a commitment. The answer is, since he initially invested with him for future delivery, the running assumption is that he wants the best deal. In contrast to our Mishnah, which began with an opening statement that you can be paisek al shasha b'shuk, you can't do that. If it has a market value, it has a going price, you can purchase it, it's my goods to play with. Even if it goes up in price later, it's mine. There's no ribis issue. According to Rabbi Yehuda, seemingly you can't do that. Amalei Rab Zera Rav Asi. Let me try to understand. You're quoting Rabbi Yehuda. What do you mean? Rabbi Yehuda say, "Afilu kedurmas hazeh." Even if the Durmas Rashi says is a huge marketplace, grain is being sold by the millions. There's a going rate. There's a going price. You can't contract at this point. I mean, it's a purchasable item. Amarle, no. Of course, once you get to that point, the market develops to that point. It's so late in the season, of course, you could. Rabbi Yehuda was only concerned regarding the small, little small city marketplaces, like Kritar Ayu, where the shar, the rates aren't really established yet. It's still sort of preliminary. It's preliminary pre-season rates. So at that point, since it's not kavua, it's a fluctuating type of thing. It's not predictable. So the whole point was that I can contract with you because you can buy it elsewhere, but it's fluctuating. It's an unpredictable situation, and therefore, it's not really considered a full, proper purchase. Says the Gemara, now, according to our initial thinking, the way we understood Rabbi Yehuda, that even if it's a really well-established market rate, you can't proceed with this contract. But what happened to our Mishnah? You can't do it before the shar. Yotza Hashar, once the shar is fully established, you could do this psika. So, the way we understood Rabbi Yehuda, that you can't, so how does it work with the Mishnah? So, how we went to understand the heter of the Mishnah, right? If even the most, prevalent shar is not enough, most established rate is not considered, so says the Gemara, "Masnissen bechiti da chalbe." If that was the true understanding of Rabbi Yehuda, we could have explained the Mishnah to be speaking, we're very, very advanced into the season. Bechite da chalbe va'arbe. Achalbe are the warehouses. The warehouses have been opened wide. Supplies gushing into town. Va'arbe, the ships have arrived. At that point, the mashuch tarit fei, that rate stays for a while. That's considered really an established, permanent type of arrangement, in which case we say there's no concern of fluctuations, and it makes sense that you can proceed with this contract, even though you'll get delivery later, because the way it's going, this is the rate. But when it comes to any other type of rate, which hasn't yet been established on a permanent basis, there's some concern about an element of fluctuation, and perhaps in that case it's unfair to hold them accountable, to hold them fully committed to today's rate. Tanu Rabban. Okay, back to the basic halacha. In Peskin ala Peres, you cannot contract on future delivery of grains, unless the shar has been established. Once that happens, Peskin can do that. Even if this particular merchant doesn't have it in stock, but his competitor does. So let him take my money and buy it elsewhere. It's accessible to him. It's considered a proper transaction. Now, so suppose the fresh wheat, chadashes, were going at a cheaper rate than the yishanes, the older ones, which are drier and easier to grind. So the new ones are going me'arba, 4 pounds for $1. The older ones, mishalish, 3 pounds per $1, more expensive. Ein paiskin, asher yeti ashar, l'chadash v'liyashim. So I can't go ahead and make a psika. Again, psika means to commit myself in a contract for future delivery. I can't do it on the chadash, on the fresh wheat, which are going now for $4 a pound cheaper, with the intention to take delivery later. Because later on, once it dries up, right, I'm going to get it half a year later, it's going to be a shanis. At that point, I'm getting more than I paid for. Look, I'm asking you for today's rate on the chadashes, but I know good and well I'm going to take it from you in a half a year's time. At that point, it's considered yeshanes, and it's worth more. So I'm in effect asking to get more than I'm paying for. You can't do that. Until it's only allowed if this same shar, this equal rate, 4 per $1 applies to both the chadash and yashan, in which case it's a fair proposition. 4 for $1. And whatever you give me later, even if you give me dried wheat, it's the same price. So that's what I contracted you with for. In similar fashion, suppose the material brought to the market by the lekutes, by the poor people who collect their stalks of leket, shikha, and peah, the portion of the poor people sitting in the fields. So they sort of collect from assorted farms and they put it together and they sell it at the market, which is not such high quality because it's like an assortment of random sources, right? So that goes for arba, 4 for $1. Whereas your standard typical farm wheat is going for 3 per $1, more expensive. So here as well, I can't go ahead and contract with a regular farmer based on the lekutes rate, which is cheaper, unless the price equalizes. The same rate applies equally to this or that, to the collected ones and the properly sourced ones. Okay, otherwise I'm asking for more than I'm paying. Right. I mean, I could contract with a poor man to take delivery of his material based on that price, right? That's fine. Right? Why are you allowing this by the poor man? Because even if he doesn't have it in stock, Yaziv Miloket Chavrei, he can just go and borrow it from his fellow poor man who has the same type of material, right? So Balabayis Nami Yaziv Miloket. So why can't I do the same thing with a regular Balabayis? Look, I'd like to purchase the cheaper material. If you don't have it, you can go obtain it from a poor man. It's unlikely that a typical farmer will borrow. It's degrading for him to go to a poor man and get this material. Ultimately, he's going to really give you good stock, which is unfair, right? Another reason is that when a person pays to a farmer, to a balabayis, he's expecting high quality material and not low grade assorted random material. A piri on good quality material, he's providing that money, so ultimately he's expecting better qualities. You have no right to give him the low rate, otherwise you're running into all kinds of issues of ribis. Amar of Sheshes, Amar of Chumna. Ein loivin al shasha b'shuk. Up until now, we allowed you to purchase material for future delivery according to today's rate. But suppose a person wants to borrow money today, and he commits to repay with grain based on today's low rate, although he's returning it half a year later, where it's already more expensive. You can't do that, because basically he's giving the lender a benefit. He's giving him more material than he borrowed. Umi Amar Rav Huna Rav Huna doesn't allow this. Wasn't there a question asked from Rav Huna? Hani b'nei beirav. These yeshiva students, the Yasvi b'Tishrei, they borrow money Tishrei time, when the price of produce is cheap, still pre-season. Upari b'tevis, and they repay with produce during the month of Tevis, when it's worth more. And during Tishrei, they committed to 10 pounds of wheat, which reflected, whose value reflected the amount that they borrowed. That's fine. But they actually repaid that same 10 pounds Tevis when it was worth double the price. Is that allowed or not? Shari ayasar, permitted or not? Amrlahu, he says, sure, it's fine. You know why? Look, during Tishrei, when the fellow borrowed the money was available, but the chitim were available in the town of Hini, the town of Shili. He can take that money and buy with it grain right on the moment and use it to repay his loan. He chose not to do that, to hold on to the money and only buy the wheat later. That's his prerogative. If they would have chosen to zavni, they would have purchased the wheat right then and there, parley and repaid it. So basically, it's their prerogative to hold on to the money and then later on have to buy it at a higher rate. So here, he seemed to be okay with this. And then he said it's no good. Yeah, Meikara Savar Afuna Ein Leivin. It says the Gemara, initially, he thought it wasn't acceptable. You can't do this. Because there's a ribbis issue. Given the Sham, al-Hadam, Rashmor Achia, or Rabbi. But once you heard Rashmor Achia quoting Rabbi that it's okay, Leivin, you can do this arrangement, Amar Yunami. Leivin, he as well conceded that it's okay. And we deem it a non-ribbis arrangement. So basically, just like you can offer money as a purchase for a certain commodity based on today's rate, despite the fact you're only getting it later, because you can take that money and even if you don't have it in stock, you can use my money to buy that product today if you wish to do so. So it's a proper purchase. You're committing to that delivery, so it's a purchasable item. It's considered a transaction. It's a purchase. Likewise, if I borrow your money, right? And I can theoretically take that money and use it to buy grain today. I chose not to. Rather, I chose to spend the money and buy you grain later. That's my prerogative. Okay, so in summation, we started with two halachas pertaining to a yid having a loan interaction with a goy, a ribbis interaction, and there was a conversion that took place, a giur. In some cases, he can collect the entire amount, some cases not. What about a shtar that has ribbis in a forbidden manner? Rameir says it's totally disqualified. Rabbanan say you can use it as the shtar for the keren. That tied us into the question of a predated shtar. Then the story about the fellow who was blackmailed, and he preempted his blackmailer by giving it away to his son. More comes out that the shtar has no value. And we had this interesting sugi called psika al shar shebashuk. You're purchasing now based on a futures contract. It would be okay if, in fact, the shar has been established. It's considered a proper purchase. All the best to you and Hatzlacha.